not going to believe what I just heard. Well, some of my regular viewers will. This CRR News and Clues, Roy here. I just got information from a DOT license and weight inspector. It's third or fourth person to me. What he heard from another inspector who was speaking to his neighbor. They were out in their yards, and the neighbor asked him if he'd heard if the food stamp program was being ended. And the neighbor there told the inspector that he was real concerned because he doesn't know what he's going to do, because he sells the food stamps for cash in order to live off of. He won't have any more income. So the inspector told him, well, work. He says, but I haven't ever worked a day in my life. And the gentleman I was speaking with, this other inspector, says, well, I think what they should do is make sure that all the elderly and disabled people still get their needs, to make sure they got food, and then go through and do reform and check on people to make sure they are truly applicable and eligible for getting assistance out of our tax dollars. And of course I reminded him they're actually doing this at the expense of our unborn great-grandchildren by piling all this trillions of dollars of debt. Because our country's GDP is way less than the budget and what they spend every year. I don't have information on exactly what's being done with SNAP and any other food stamp programs at this time. I know there's definite proposals for reform. I know that the WIC program, Women, Infants, and Children, it's also called Women in Charge because it helps them. They're, of course, struggling to get needs for pregnant women and infants and toddler-aged children. And, of course, Congress doesn't want to get it together. We've got a bunch of Democrats pushing certain things, and so they won't pass if they don't get that. So our executive branch under President Trump has managed to find ways to use tariffs to get back to paying our U.S. military troops all over the world so that their families can eat and pay bills, have their housing back home, and some other resource that probably wasn't properly allocated in the first place to use to cover the WIC program, to make sure that mothers can take care of themselves and their children with the bare necessities to survive. A lot of people are unaware of two key reasons for this government shutdown. Many have heard that Democratic politicians and probably some Republicans want to push through a spending bill in a way to provide $1.5 trillion, that's with a TR, trillion dollars funding for health care through the Medicaid program that we pay for undocumented immigrants, or whatever they want to call the illegal aliens. Most people don't know that at the same time they're doing that, they want to leave out 50 billion, only with a B, not an M for million. It is $50 billion funding for rural health care, for the small town hospitals and so forth, for the rural folks like this area I'm in right now, near Falfurrias, Texas, for all the farmers and ranchers who feed every damn body else, including those illegal aliens, by producing the vast majority of the food that this country consumes. Because sure, we get a lot of food imported at the same time that we're exporting a whole lot of our food, so it's not available for ourselves, under programs set up by many decades of previous USDA, that's the Department of Agriculture, processes, and also the FDA processes. Because they think it's more important to bring in money that can be taxed than to have nutritious food for our own people, by allowing garbage in our so-called food that is outlawed in every other country. And right now we've got our executive administration working on brokering a deal with Argentina to bring in beef and some other products from Argentina that for the most part we don't actually need, because already our farmers and ranchers raising beef cattle are getting way too low of a price at the market as what we are paying for the beef at the grocery store. A key part of that reason is during the COVID nonsense, there wasn't enough income on the beef, so they had to sell off more beef just to survive, and the total U.S. herd was greatly diminished. I got to clear a big old nasty spot on the windshield you just heard. Please excuse the squeak squeak. That'll have to do for now. Now, a reasoning behind this is because we need to keep not only trade but other good negotiations with Argentina, because they're leaning towards going socialist again and becoming communist. And when they do, they would then be working deals with the primary communist country of the People's Republic of China and the Chinese Communist Party. And just like the Panama Canal, the South Sea around the tip of Argentina is a major trade route and also a key military point. Is probably why our administration is looking at working with them, in addition to the fact of just trying to get better organization and better working deals with all North and South American countries to work together instead of being infiltrated by CCP and Iran and other countries, including those in Russia who have ideals against us, even though much of their people think like we do in their general public. But please share this. Please do what you can to help others that are in need at this time, as well as help people understand that these programs need to be existing to help people, but there are millions and millions of people that are just too lazy to get off their derriere and are just producing cow farts, and therefore they want to live off the rest of us that bother to get out and work. And I will include that our disability programs need to be reformed, and most of the people in those programs drawing those benefits need to have new evaluations, because I've known people who can't get on disability, but anytime they would get a new job would lose the chance of any other benefits, even just health care for their children through the Medicaid or whatever program, but couldn't manage to work more than one day because the work environment and chemicals and such that were used in just a convenience store or a grocery store or whatever that triggered very intense allergies and would provide them cluster headaches, causing them to either have to go hide in the dark at home after somebody took them home, or to go in the hospital to get IV of Phenergan and Demerol so they wouldn't lose every bit of liquid in their stomach while being in such intense pain to possibly kick out the windshield of a vehicle. And yes, I'm talking from personal experience of someone I knew. At the very same time that those people can't get on disability, I once drove truck for a company. The previous driver had to be fired because he lost his license by getting DWI in his personal vehicle, didn't report it to the boss, and kept on driving the truck until thankfully other people in the company managed to find out and report to the boss, and he verified the claim and fired him for driving without a license. That man, while I was working for the company, was on disability for being an alcoholic. Excuse me, he may need some assistance to get dried out and rehabilitated, but he shouldn't be living the rest of his life off the rest of us just because he's a damn drunk and doesn't want to change his ways. Thank you all. I wish you a blessed day. Please do what you can to be a blessing to others. Pray for discernment, guidance, and truth in all things, and for betterment in all things. Please take a moment to try to understand what's happening by gathering more information instead of believing anything that comes out of mainstream and legacy media without doing intensive effort to vet whether or not it's truthful, including any statement you get from me. Thank you all.